Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Leah O'Connor. I am a senior in the Hospitality and Event Management Department, and welcome to Investing 101. My coworker Paloma.
Hello, my name is Paloma Romero. I'm graduating 2028 and I'm studying business admin and social work as of right now. We're so excited to have you guys. So grateful for our sponsors, Canvas. And so excited.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining today for our Virtual Learning Investing 101 program. For today's program, we are partnering with, like Paloma said, Canvas Credit Union. Before I introduce our Canvas speakers, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about comments. So for the comment section on YouTube, all you need is either a YouTube account or a Gmail account. So I will post a comment. If you guys see it, feel free to respond to it. And then in the comment section, go ahead and let us know where you're watching from today. We'd love to know. And for starters, if you're an alum, please tell us when you graduated. We'd love to hear from our alums and how long you guys have been gone. And I'll just wait a couple minutes to watch these comments roll in, and then we'll get started. But thank you so much to our Alumni Association members who are watching today. Through your membership, it really makes a huge difference in what we're able to do and how we're able to do it. So people like you make these programs possible. So thank you so much. But I am going to hand it over to Nancy and Ryan. Sorry.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We are going to talk about Investing 101. This is a discussion about investment options, how they fit into your financial future. Our goal is that you have a very basic conversation about investing so that as you're exploring options, you're comfortable with the terms and the products that are commonly used. I'm Nancy Patton, part of the community involvement team at Canvas, and joining me is one of our financial advisors, Ryan. And we have a lot of people watching the seminar today. So we're going to ask that if you're submitting questions, that you be sure to keep them of a general nature and not make those questions about specific situations. Ryan's contact information will be available at the end of the presentation, and you can contact him directly about those specific things. So let's think a little bit about the format we're going to use. We're going to divide the session into two parts. Because I'm not a licensed financial advisor, my job is to cover general information and set a foundation so we understand some really basic concepts about investing. Ryan, who is a licensed financial advisor, is going to be able to take your questions and expand on any of these things that come up in our general overview. And then plus there will be time at the end to open it up for any of your questions. Again, if they're of a general nature, not related to a specific situation. So we'll start with some definitions and options related to investing. And then we're going to look at some things that you should consider when you're ready to jump into the investing world. And then finally, we'll close with those questions and conversation with Ryan. So let's take a look at some definitions, including a lot of those acronyms that you may have heard about. So an investment is simply something you put money into now, hoping for a larger return in the future. People commonly think of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, but there are lots of ways to invest your money. If you buy stock, you're investing in a single company like Starbucks, Amazon, Walmart. When you put money into a mutual fund, it lets you buy into multiple companies with a single purchase. So that's instead of buying one company, you're buying multiple companies, but it's still with a single purchase. And this is usually considered safer Because if one of the companies in your mutual fund isn't doing very well, likely some of the other companies are doing all right. So you make one purchase, but it includes many companies. A bond is when you loan money to a government entity and you're paid back at a specific interest rate. So you might participate in a bond that's loaning money to a city government so they can build a water treatment plant. Maybe you loan money to a school district and they're going to construct a new school. The federal government issues treasury bonds and savings bonds. And as you can see on the slide, there are lots of other ways you can invest your money. So stocks, bonds, mutual funds are the most commonly thought of investments, but there's real estate, collectibles, cryptocurrency, lots of other ways you can invest your money. You have probably heard the term Roth when talking about retirement funds. So this is, if you have a Roth retirement account, it's money you've invested and you've already paid taxes on the money. Opposite of that, if you've set aside money in a retirement fund that hasn't been taxed, that's a traditional tax status. The federal government collects taxes and it's going to get its taxes one way or another. So it's either going to be before you put the money into the retirement funds or when you pull the retirement funds out. So which one's better? Totally depends on your individual situation. It is highly recommended that you diversify your investments. So that means having a variety of stocks, including some international funds or maybe large and small companies, making sure you're invested in different industries. But there's other ways of having diversification as well. You could own property. Or maybe you have a relative or a friend that you trust and they're starting a business and you want to give them early funding in return for a portion of their profits at that business. There are lots of ways to diversify your investments. The key is to be sure you're doing it. And another term you may have heard related to investing is about the cost of investing. So depending on the way you're investing your money, you're very likely to have a fee. It may be when you open the investment account, and that's called a front load fee, or it might be when you pull the money out, that's a back load. And for many, many investment accounts, there's some sort of annual management fee. And that's going to happen for as long as the money is invested in that product. Some kind of management fee that you'll be paying along the way while your money is invested. And the final definition that we want to talk about is inflation. We've been experiencing that lately, so we're probably pretty familiar with the concept. And we're familiar with the impact it has on our finances. So inflation simply means that as time goes by, things cost more to purchase. So there's a couple examples on the screen. A loaf of bread in 2005 was $1.58. In 2024, it was $1.83. Not a very big difference, but it did go up. But compare that cost with the increase that you see in a price of a car. We had a $30,000 average in 2005, but by 2024, it was $48,000. So wages during that time also increased. Average wage 2005 was $37,000. 2024, it was $59,000. So the bread cost 20% more. The cars cost 60% more. And wages were up 55%. Those changes took place over 20 years. The average annual inflation rate in America is about 3%. And so while you're working and your income increases, you can basically handle the effect of inflation. Yes, we have some challenges and ups and downs. But what happens that we're trying to achieve with investing is in retirement or further down the road, we're trying to be sure that our money is growing so that we can beat inflation or keep up with inflation. And for a lot of people in retirement, their income isn't as resilient to keep up with inflation. So again, one of the goals of investing is to be sure that we're overcoming the challenge presented by inflation. I would like to comment again. Be sure that if you have questions or comments as we're going, if you'd like something clarified, go ahead and submit those through the methods that were offered. Okay, just like any industry, investing is full of acronyms. And so here are some common acronyms that you should understand. The first bullet point there talks about employer investing options. These are offered by an employer. It's a retirement plan. It's managed and bought into and participate in through your paycheck. It allows you to save and invest a portion of your paycheck before taxes are taken out. And you'll notice these are 400 something plans. It depends on the kind of company you're working for, which of the 400 plans you would be in. Many people talk about 401ks, and that is if you're working for a private company. But there are other 401 plans depending on who your employer is. Another commonly used term in the investing world is ETF. It's an exchange traded fund. It means that you're using an investment fund, you're purchasing this, it's traded on the stock market. So it's a fund that you can find by going to the stock market. There's something called a REIT, R-E-I-T, Real Estate Investment Trust. This is a company that is going to own, or it might operate, or it might provide financing for income producing real estate. So think about office buildings, apartment complexes, this kind of real estate. So if you want to diversify by having some investments in real estate, but you're not comfortable being a landlord or getting into home ownership, you could diversify by having real estate investments that are part of a REIT. Then you probably have heard of an IPO. This is the initial public offering. And so a company, say you have a lemonade stand keeps getting bigger and bigger and more productive, more amazing, opening more and more lemonade stands. At some point you decide, you know what? We are big enough. I don't have enough money coming in to do my big dreams that I want for this lemonade business. I'm going to offer an opportunity for people to buy into my company by buying stock. And I'm going to do that by offering my company through an IPO, an initial public offering on the stock market. And now anybody going to the stock market can buy into my lemonade company. That initial price, that initial time that the company goes public like that is called the IPO. Here's another group of investment accounts that you've probably heard about. And this time, instead of being related to employers and coming through a company, these are individual plans that you set up yourself as an individual. Most people are familiar with the term IRA. So it's an individual retirement account. I think it's interesting that the IRS calls them an individual retirement arrangement, but we all know the IRS operates in a world all its own anyway. So these accounts have tax advantages over a regular savings account. So certainly we want you to have money in an emergency fund, put it in your bank or credit union savings account. You can get into and out of it, but those don't have tax advantages. You'll be taxed on the interest earnings. When you put money into an IRA, now you've avoided the taxes, at least in the moment. And so you have to have, in order to open an IRA, you have to have income, earned income. There is a limit to how much you can contribute each year. But you could put the money, an IRA fund, into a variety of different buckets. You can have an IRA CD. You could have an IRA that's invested in the stock market or bonds. But the purpose of an IRA is to set aside money for retirement. It's a future thinking savings account. So there are penalties if you take the money out early. And it is basically recommended in this day and age that if at all possible, you're participating in an employer plan and doing your own IRA money. So everybody's different. We're at different stages of life, but you absolutely can have your own IRA funds and participate at the same time in employer funds. And then a SEP IRA is simplified employer pension. The concept here is that those big 401, 400 plans don't work well for small business. Maybe somebody is self-employed or owns a small business. The SEP IRA is designed to help you, these small business people, individual proprietors, self-employed. So again, an individual arrangement, but not a specific IRA, a SEP IRA. Okay, lots of acronyms, lots of terminology going on related to investments. So if those are all the terms, what are the possibilities? Where can you put your money, hoping that it will have a higher value later? Let's just remind you about some of these options. There are a lot. Okay, we have stocks, individual company ownership. We have bonds, some kind of government loan. Mutual funds where you're buying in, making a single purchase, but you're buying into multiple companies. People also own personal property. They might own a rental unit. People invest in precious metals. Angel investing is where you're helping another person, another company with their developing their business. Cryptocurrency is certainly a thing now as far as an investment option. And a lot of people enjoy doing collectibles where for some reason they have a passion about on the screen, Star Trek. But maybe it's dolls, maybe it's toys, maybe it's fine art, but there's a collectible option that is available to you as an investment choice. All of these things come with a certain amount of joy, a certain amount of challenge, risk, reward. It's all different for all of those different options. We really encourage you to do extensive research. If you're jumping into investing, find out which methods are appropriate for you, which you're comfortable with. And then our focus really today is on those, traditional methods, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. But we do welcome your questions if you have them about some of these other alternatives. All right, let's take a look at some things to consider before you jump into throwing your money into an investment. Again, this is a high-level overview, and we're going to talk about a wide variety of considerations people should be thinking through before spending money. One of the biggest is to know your risk tolerance. The theory, of course, is that with higher risk comes higher reward. However, we also know that that comes with the possibility of higher loss. So what may be fine and comfortable for your brother or for your neighbor to put their money into, it may not allow you to sleep at night. So we encourage you to have a limit on the amount of money that you're going to put into any particular investment option. Knowing how much you can risk in one area will help you not to exceed that comfort level. And then there's the consideration about timelines. Do you have 5 years to wait for your money to grow or 45 years? That can influence what you choose to invest in. What about your goals? Really common goals when people are investing is to have money for kids to attend college or money for your retirement. But maybe your goal is something different. Maybe you want to take a 2-year sabbatical from your job and go on a worldwide adventure. Know what your goals are in doing these investment options. And some other considerations include deciding how active you want to be in managing this investment. Are you going to start it up, walk away, and let it do its thing? Are you going to be in there on a daily basis managing it? Do you just set up an annual review so that once a year you take a look, see how things are going? And then the final consideration we have for you, which we're going to expand on the next slide, is just your overall financial position. Financial experts are going to suggest 2 foundational things to make your financial life successful. So one is to set aside savings, and the other is to use a budget. Some other basics that you can have in place for financial well-being include a strong credit score, adequate insurance coverage, smart debt. So are you not comfortable with the amount of debt you have? Can you do a management plan, something like a snowball plan where you're reducing debt as quickly as possible? At Canvas, we often see people anxious to invest for the long term, but they haven't thought about getting these basics in place. Investing money without having these financial foundations in place can end up costing you a lot more. So an example would be if the car breaks down and you have to access your investments to cover the repair cost, there's likely going to be a fee or a tax expense. So the other alternative, of course, is putting it on a credit card, and with interest rates above 20% on credit cards, that's expensive and frustrating. So we strongly encourage you to have your financial basics in place before you think about putting your money at risk with future investments. Got a couple quotes for you to consider before we open it up for questions. We are living in a time where we are constantly bombarded with advice and with opportunities, and where change happens quickly. And so we all love the idea of getting rich quick, but that concept is actually full of danger. So we have talked about some really basic terminology, some options that exist, what investing looks like in the big picture. And we'd like to go ahead and open it up and see if you have any questions for Ryan. So Lee, or do we have any questions that have come in?
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I don't see any in the chat yet, but I will go ahead and check our email and see if anyone emailed us.
And Ryan, anything you want to wrap up as a thought while they're checking for those questions?
No, not at this time. But as Nancy was mentioning, there's all kinds of investments out there, including collectibles. And then there's certainly rules when we're looking at collectibles, just that's not in a retirement account versus a retirement account. So if we do have any questions about those, you have my contact information on the screen. That gets a little bit too into the weeds for this presentation, but there are lots and lots of options out there. And so I'm certainly here to be able to set up an appointment with you to do a full financial review and actually come up with financial plan and solutions that are very tailored to your specific financial plan.
And, Brian, that reminds me that financial advisors look at the whole picture. They're going to ask you questions about, well, what insurance do you have set up and what's your savings look like? And they're going to make sure that you understand options and that you have prepared to get into the investing world. But yeah, a trusted financial advisor can be a huge help to your financial life, looking at the holistic big approach.
Absolutely. And really something that I say nearly every single appointment with one of the members of the credit union that I work with, nearly every time, is I let them know the bigger picture I get, the better advice I can give that will allow me to ask more pinpointed questions so that we can accomplish your goals.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, thank you for the question about credit, because it is a foundational building block of good financial wellness. Yes, you can check your credit score without hurting your score. Yes, you can check it for free, sort of. Many banks and credit unions and credit card companies offer a way to see your score. And what you're going to want to look for on that score that's free is that it's a Vantage score or a FICO score. Many people have heard of FICO, but FICO or Vantage, those are trusted scores. They're accurate scores. And many banks, credit unions, credit card companies offer that for free. Look in your app for those products and see if they've got it available.
And I'm not seeing any more questions, so I just wanted to remind anybody, if you do have a question, feel free to pop it in the comment section.
And Lee, is there an email that people are using to send questions?
Yes, I believe it should be in the packet the email that got sent to them. There should be an email.
Okay. Otherwise, I'm trying to think. One of the other questions we get asked a lot is, how do you find a financial advisor, or what questions do you ask when looking to find somebody that you're going to work with on your long-term finances? So, Ryan, do you have some specific questions that people ask you? Do you have some suggestions on that?
Yeah. So first, I just want to go back actually one step and how to find a financial advisor. Sure, you can start by asking family and friends. Maybe there's someone that has been in the family that your parents or a sibling or niece or nephew has worked with, and starting there, making sure that there's a trusted source there. But also, I would very much push for the idea of starting with your own financial institution. Ideally, it's Canvas Credit Union. If not, you have a bank, but at least starting there. And the reason for that is that oftentimes, especially here at Canvas, when my initial appointments with the members of the credit union are held, these are no cost, no obligation appointments, which it doesn't cost anything to have that initial appointment. And you're certainly not obligated or forced to work with me after that first appointment. And that is a huge advantage when you're a member of the credit union, so that you're just not finding a financial advisor through other means, literally searching and scouring Google and reading reviews and this kind of thing. Oftentimes initial consultations can can be cost free to you. Sometimes they're not. I mean, even building a full financial plan can cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars when there are other avenues to do that through your credit union, and making sure that you're finding a financial advisor that you like, that you trust, that you know that you want to work with. Just like moving to a new city and finding a doctor, not always is that first person the right match. So I'd say finding the right match is a great place to start. And then as far as initial questions, I'm here to make sure that I'm helping you achieve your goals. And so asking me if these goals are feasible in certain time horizons and what you need to do to achieve these goals are a lot of things that we're going to talk about in that first initial appointment.
And I totally echo the finding somebody you're comfortable with, making sure that they're not pushing a sale as opposed to helping you figure out and understand what you're getting into. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Lee, anything else? Or is Panoma?
It's just me right now, but I just wanted to say thank you so much to Nancy and Ryan for doing this. It does look like we have one more question.
Common mistake.
For you.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's a good one too.
I feel a lot of folks, especially when they are younger and newer to investing, can sometimes move too quickly, just being almost too excited to get started before thinking about, well, what are some of my major expenditures that I need to finance in the next couple of years? Well, in the next 2 or 3 years, is there a wedding I'm paying for? Whether it's for my own or a family member? Am I purchasing a house? Am I moving out into my own apartment? Is there a car purchase? Am I paying for grad school? Am I redoing a room in the house if I'm renovating the kitchen or taking a large vacation? I think sometimes these are things that folks don't always think about ahead of time and say, well, I know that I'm going to grad school and I know it's going to cost me a lot of money, but I really want to get into investing now. Well, sometimes that's just not enough time to allow the market to participate, or if you're locked into something, right? We don't have access to that money. Want to make sure that we have emergency funds established, that we have any of those short-term expenditures kind of carved off to the side, so that we know when that larger expenditure does get here that we can afford that.
And Ryan, I'm just going to build on that for a second. That I know that budgets and tracking your spending are not fun and are not exciting. But there is nothing like tracking your spending and knowing what your money's actually doing to help you have a clear picture of what your future looks like. So just like Ryan was saying, if you've got some other things coming up and you haven't thought about, well, what am I doing right now? And how can I fit that into my future? And then how can I look long-term for this investing? But yeah. Good advice, Ryan.
Right. Absolutely, Nancy. As you mentioned, cash flow. I think that's one of the largest mistakes. Someone comes into an initial appointment and it's, well, I don't really have an exact average on what I make just because I do DoorDash or I do Uber, or sometimes I work overtime or anything like that. Having a really good understanding of what you do make, having a really good understanding of what your expenses are, so we understand what that monthly cash flow is, what kind of debts you're hanging on to, what kind of assets you have in other places, 401ks with previous employers. So I think that's the other big thing, making sure that you have a really solid grasp on what your monthly cash flow looks like.
Yeah, love the question.
Perfect. So I'm not seeing any other questions that have popped up in the chat. So like I said, thank you so much, Nancy and Ryan. Oh, just kidding.
Oh, this is another great one. Oh, you are totally on a roll. These questions are fabulous.
And keep them coming, guys. Please do not let me stop you from asking your questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So can mean investing with a small amount can mean a couple different things for different folks. Is this an amount that we are funding an individual retirement account with? Is this an amount where, well, maybe I'm in my early 20s and I do have emergency savings, but maybe I am thinking about a home purchase down the road. Maybe I don't want to contribute to a retirement account. If I think in 9, 10, 11 years, maybe that's when I want to purchase a home. Wouldn't want to put it into a retirement account that's meant for retirement, right? It's in the title, just to take it back out and use it for something else. So is that small amount one time upfront? Is that small amount $100 a month? And do we have a time horizon? Is there, and then also making sure there's a specific risk tolerance. So, this is something that you can either do on your own if it's you understand it. Maybe it's a hobby, maybe you enjoy doing it, but maybe it's something where you're on the other side of it where I don't understand this, I just need some help, I need someone to please do it for me. Understanding how comfortable you are doing self-directed investing, just like changing your own oil. It's not going to cost you as much as going to the mechanic, but you also don't have the professional help of a mechanic. So again, starting through someone like through your credit union and really understanding your goals, just to make sure that investment objective makes sense for you. So a little bit of a longer-winded answer, and I know it's not specific, but that is exactly the kind of questions where you're getting together with an advisor and really making sure what we want to invest in makes sense for your picture.
And I'm just going to throw in that you can definitely do regular small investing by opening an investment account on your own, and then likely set up an automatic deposit into that. But again, doing some research, make sure about the fees, make sure you understand, what do you need to have before you get started on it? You need to have my social, I need to have my account number. I am a strong follower of Investopedia. I think that Investopedia gives great answers in understandable language to some of these financial questions. So I often, if I get a new term that I'm not familiar with, I'll go to Investopedia to get some understanding of that. And Ryan, I think I saw you nod your head that.
Absolutely. Investopedia is a fantastic resource.
Yeah. And then you have a question about finding an advisor at Canvas.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have my information right there on the screen. I do cover the Fort Collins area as well as Thornton, so about halfway from Denver to Fort Collins. There are 2 other advisors that we currently have that cover either the kind of the Denver West and then also the Denver East down south through Colorado Springs. And you can find those folks on canvas.org and then by clicking on the investments tab.
Canvas.org and use the investments tab to find the individuals in Ryan's department.
Perfect. I think that is it.
I love it. Every time you say that, we get another fabulous question. So just in case anybody's got a fabulous question.
Right. But like I was saying, thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate it. And I just wanted to let everyone watching know that this will be immediately posted on YouTube. So if you missed a section, joined us late, had a question, you can go back and rewatch this. If you want to reach out to anyone, you can email us at the Alumni Association, or you can contact Ryan or Nancy. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we hope you have a great night. Perfect. I am going to end the stream, but have a great night, everyone.
Thank you all.